Joining the show now, we've got Altitude Sports, Mike Sanford, former CU coach. It's been a while, man. How you been?
It's good to see you guys.
It's great to see you, too. Last time we were sitting up on the top floor of the Champion Center, looking out over it. It was a long time ago.
It was like a 2-hour special, I think.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Full show.
It got weird, too. If I'm not mistaken, there was some strangeness to that 2-hour show. You're like, who is this guy? This new interim guy's a weirdo.
I think we did get to Zins at one point.
We did,
yeah.
I actually took it out, before, just to show you guys respect in your program. I love following what you guys do. You guys cover a team, and having been a coach for a long time, when you have somebody that's supporting your program, it means a lot. So you guys just put forth incredible content across DNVR. I was watching the Rapid show after I went to the game on Sunday, and Mitch and the crew was spitting hot fire about the Rapids. So love what you guys do.
A lot has changed since then. Now we're Lucy guys instead of Zins.
Course.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I might have to partake.
It's big for us.
I'm not actually contractually obligated to Zins, so
we'll give you a can after this. A lot has changed, but you've been all over in your coaching career, and yet you're still in Colorado. Why is that?
Well, first off, I have been to a lot of these events, a couple of them as a head coach, and it's weird that I have to wear a badge this time.
Yeah.
When you come as a head coach, they don't give you a badge.
People look at you differently.
Yeah,
huh?
they're like, who's that weirdo? But, for me, I love my time at CU. I've moved, I think my 14-year-old daughter's moved 11 times. It's the industry. It's what you sign up for, so never looking for a pity party. But you also have to make decisions at some point for your family. And this was a place that we felt as a family is our favorite place that we've lived. And we've lived in a lot of cool places. But a lot of the stuff that I think I said about CU and Boulder are things that I really did mean, and I'm actually putting my boots where my mouth is, if you will, and staying here in Colorado, and now just wanting to stay involved in the sport of football. But I've always been really interested in all sports, in soccer, basketball, baseball, and so the opportunity to be in the local media in Denver was really a fun thing to do this past year, and just looking for more opportunities to do that. That's why I'm here right now.
Awesome, man.
You mentioned soccer. I remember you were a big soccer guy towards the end of your time at CU. It was the World Cup time and all that going on.
Remember we had a team watch party.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
all these players that had never watched an international match. We watched England and USA, and it was a 1-1 draw. And I'm sitting there celebrating, and they're like, "We tied. How's that cool?" So it's fun. I've kind of been now my family. We're all kind of members of the Centennial 38 crew in the Rapids, because the U.S. team has nothing to root for right now.
No.
So the Rapids are on fire.
Love to hear it. So let's just talk about this team. Coach has talked a lot about the OBs, the original Buffaloes on this team. I think there's 10 of them, but guys like Trevor played a big role. Just what is your reaction just seeing them hang on to the roster, hold on to that scholarship and continue to contribute moving forward at Colorado?
Well, when there was inevitable transition going to be happening for these players, I actually had a chance after the Utah game, I told you guys off air, but to meet with every individual player and tell them, hey, this is what I think is going to happen. And there were a lot of rumors, and I felt like there were substantiated rumors about Coach Prime coming to CU. And I just told him, you think that your spot is safe, you better get ready to compete and compete hard, because, frankly, if I told a lot of them, if I'm the head coach or if Coach Prime's the head coach, there's really nobody safe. And that's the reality of college football in 2024. I got really close to a lot of those players, and a lot of those players were calling me, especially in the first several months, just concerned about their future. And interestingly enough, the ones that are still on the team weren't calling me because they were doing all the right things probably. But, I'm super proud of a guy like Trevor Woods. I had a chance to go to 2 games last year. One game notably was the Nebraska game, which was incredible.
Yeah.
The other game, not so notable, the Stanford game.
Oh, man.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
We don't mention that game.
It's against the rules.
I didn't know there were rules. I thought it was I think we were in a free media enterprise here. But, so I'm proud of a guy like Trevor Woods to make the transition from being frankly a skinny, undersized safety to now playing linebacker, and just his football instincts are on a different level, something that we saw very early on. I mean, he's a big reason that we won the one game against Cal in 2022. It's just a lot of his plays, but namely his interception to seal the game at the end. he's just one of those players that just shows up in critical moments and does it so well. Charlie Offerdahl, man, I mean, I'm so excited that his last name came to fruition, and he has now been offered a scholarship.
Yes.
And very, very worth it. If you remember in 2022, he was a starting running back for us.
Yes, sir, he was.
He was good.
He was a good player. He's got great hands. He's tough. He's intelligent. Obviously incredibly dependable. But, the scrimmages is one of those deals where every time there's a spring game, a scrimmage, he just kept showing up. And you're like, this guy –
Yep.
we got to start playing him on varsity, if you will. And so that's why we started playing him in 22. And I think he's just an incredible, just jack of all trades in the backfield. And, even guys like Ben Finiseth that, was an incredible special teams contributor in 22 and had a little bit of an injury last year. So I think he'll be impactful this season in maybe a role that you won't expect. He might end up causing a fumble that wins a game. Those are the kind of guys that are just high character. They care. They love the game of football, and they don't care what was put in front of them. They were going to go conquer whatever it looked like, and that's why the OBs are the OBs.
We ask a lot of guys who's the funniest player on the team, and almost all of them say Ben Finiseth.
Yeah, Finiseth. I even saw his dance at the Lil Wayne concert.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Lil Wayne that was. It might have been one of the opening acts, but I saw Ben out there getting it. I'm like, it looks like the locker room. We've all seen that version of Ben. It was fun. I'm coaching high school football. Joel Klatt's brother, Jason Klatt's the head coach at Meade High School. I'm a volunteer there just to stay around the game and give back to the game that's given so much to me. And so Ben Finiseth had played at Durango, and so he came to our Meade Durango game. It was fun to catch up with him last fall. He's doing really well.
Circling back to what you said about Trevor and his football IQ and his instincts, and obviously you coach offense, but we talk about that a lot on this show and how the coaches can't help but put a guy like that on the field. What is it, and when we talk about instincts and we talk about football IQ, what is it that translates to the field that's so important to have a guy like that out there?
It's interesting. Like Trevor Woods is one of those guys. He's not an extremely talkative individual. He doesn't, like in meetings, he wouldn't be the guy that's answering questions per se. But he's got the similar trait that I see in Shedeur Sanders, where they see it on the field. They see it really well. Some guys are really good in the meeting room environment and they have all the right answers. But then when it comes to translating it onto the field and seeing it and reacting incredibly quickly, they just don't have it. And Trevor Woods is one of those guys that he's really intelligent naturally, but he's kind of a silent assassin. When he steps out on that field, he just sees it and he executes it. And that's something that I saw in Shedeur's game this year. When he's out on the field, he sees it. And I think that's actually his greatest trait. And it's a weird thing because you can't really quantify that. Like if you're evaluating quarterbacks, and I did it all this offseason, went to the, down to the combine, went to the Senior Bowl. I had my opinions about Bo Nix. We don't need to get into that on this show.
So did I. It's all right.
But I'll say this, I saw in Shedeur Sanders that he has the ability to just see the field. Like even if he's not identifying everything like on defense, he just takes his drop, sees the open area, understands how coverages work, and then delivers the ball accurately. And I think that's probably his greatest trait. In addition to the fact that he's going to come from behind if you give him a chance to give him the ball at the end of the game.
To kind of go with that, last year in Sean Lewis's offense. Very modern offense, right? A lot of options all over
college.
the field. Yeah,
very collegey.
For sure. So, and with Pat Shurmur coming in, it seems like it's going to be a lot more structured under him for Shedeur. Just when you watched last year and you saw Shedeur struggling, what did you see? Because you played quarterback, when you put yourself in his shoes, with the bad offensive line and all this stuff, just what did you see from him in those times?
Well, I have a little bit different take on it probably than just the offensive line was bad or even that Shedeur was struggling. I think any time that you have a quarterback that doesn't have any form of run game to depend on, and frankly, there wasn't much of a commitment to the run game.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the inner workings of what was going on. I have nobody in the building to tell me that. But when you don't have any form of a run game, your play actions aren't very good. Mm-hmm. Your bootlegs, nakeds that are coming off the run game have very little value. And a defense is just going to play you, pin their ears back at defensive end. Their defensive tackles aren't really worried about gap control. And then it allows, frankly, a pass rush to just explode. And that's what happened all year. So I never actually saw that Shedeur was struggling. I just saw that in the absence of any form of a commitment to the run game, it it really neutered the offense from having the ability to activate the play action game. Because once again, if you don't respect the run,
right,
then those play actions are going to give you very little in terms of affecting the linebackers and the defensive line.
When you're watching, can you watch football without being a coach?
Oh, it's actually become my toxic trait. I had never been to, like, as a fan, a college or NFL football game, and since my dad was coaching and I was, 15, 16 years old. So I'm 42 now. I'm an old guy, right? So I went to my first Broncos game this year, and I sat up in the end zone section. I think it's the 500 section. I'm up there in the nosebleeds with my family. And I'm just talking about coverages, pressure.
Yeah.
I'm saying who's going to be coming, blitzing.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me looked at me and he's like, how did you know that? And I never tell him. I'm just like, I love football.
Love the game, man.
It's a great game. But it's been a lot of fun, and that's why I think that there is value for me in this space of media, and I want to do color commentary. I want to be an analyst because I've studied the game from an all-22 perspective for so long as an offensive coordinator, as a quarterback, as a player, and then as a head coach. You got to know all 22, and then you got to know special teams. So it's a lot of fun.
On that same note, you talk about like a commitment to the run game, and I always feel like it's probably way easier for me to say that you need to have a commitment to the run game than it is when you're in the press box calling the plays, and it's like 2nd and 10 or whatever, and you know that you're averaging like 2.7 yards per carry at best, but you're like, man, we have to get a run in here somewhere. Like, how hard is that?
It's really hard.
Moment?
You watched it in 2022 with me as a play caller. I mean, that's a reality. Like, we had to run the football to even give our quarterbacks a chance versus a pass rush that's going to pin their ears back. If you don't have the ability to run the nakeds and the bootlegs because nobody respects your run game, it's hard to come by just easy completions. Teams can very easily play man coverage, lock you down. You can say, oh, we're just going to throw a go ball, which is easy to protect, and that's what CU did a lot last year. But it's a low percentage. Like if you complete 40% of those, you're elite. Yeah. But if you're in that 20% range, then you're going to be punting a lot, and it's going to be, it's going to be fourth and long pretty quickly.
Yep.
Travis Hunter, have you ever seen anyone like him? And you, just as an offensive mind, do you think that the future for him lies at wide receiver or defensive back in the NFL?
I think as an NFL player, I think he's still going to be an X factor. I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets used sparingly, and we'll see how this NFL kickoff return works out this year. Yeah. But I think he has so much ability as a dynamic playmaker. His elite trait, though, is his ball skills.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, his ball skills, like watching that TCU game, I watched it very closely, and I'll be honest, I was shocked at everything that happened in that TCU game. But the particular play that I thought turned the game on its head was when he's playing man coverage. And frankly, if I was grading him as a defensive coordinator, he got a minus for that play.
For sure, yeah.
Because it's man coverage. You stay on your guy, and the backer's got to play over the top on the swing that was run to the running back. He just has that it factor that I'm saying. Like, you see it on the field, and then you have the ability to make those quick reactions and then make a freakishly athletic play. That is, to me, that one play is what really got this season to the point where the entire world was watching. Mm-hmm. It was because of that one play, and it was probably a double minus, but then great play. Thanks for giving us the biggest win in the last 2 decades in CU football.
My favorite part of that game is later when I think it's a slant that he is in man again, and he just covers it and almost intercepts it, and it's off his fingertips. And Joel Klatt's in the booth, and he just goes, jeez. Yeah. Like, it's just like there's nothing you can do to get away from this guy. If you throw it to his side, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I don't think I answered the original question well, because I think I said X factor, but I do think that his ball skills are going to be so impactful on the defensive side of the ball. I think he it just is a tremendous cover corner. He can play zone, he can play man, and the reason he plays zone so well is because he just knows concepts. He understands spacing. He can come off at the right time to either get the deflection or get an interception, get in harm's way. He's going to have a big NFL career, and I think it's going to be big plays. It's not going to necessarily be the PS2 where the stats are like, huh?
Right.
Yeah. You watch PS2, you're like, it's the ball skills for Travis Hunter that are just completely different than I think really anybody in the National Football League right now.
Yeah. Colorado came in 11th in the preseason Big 12 media poll. Just when you look at this team, you look at this conference as it stands now, how do you project CU doing this year?
I think it's going to be really interesting. We were looking at the 16 teams in this new conference, and it's going to be one of the more dynamic conferences in all of college football. And by dynamic, I say like every game's going to be watchable. Yep. There are going to be games that are going to be contested. I think CU is going to be in a lot of football games. I do believe that the key to this season to get the expectations that all CU fans want is going to be the ability to run the football, the commitment to running the football, what that all looks like. Because if this team can run the football and has like Michael Welch becomes that type of guy, look out for what the pass game is going to do. But if you become one-dimensional, you're going to score points. But you're also probably going to have the sack numbers are going to be similar, and I think it's going to be really important for Shedeur's NFL prospects to be a number 1 draft pick, a first-round draft pick. Is that number, which I think was hovering in the mid-50s a year ago.
52.
It's got to be cut in half, at least.
Yep.
And I think that'll be critical to go from what is now the 11th preseason team to being in the top 1, 2, or 3. Is going to be dependent on those factors. And plus, defensively, I'm anxious to see what Livingston's going to bring to the table. I mean, NFL. I have a friend on the Bengals staff. Is actually a family member. He loves Livingston. Thinks he's a great human being. Very bright. So it'd be interesting to see what he comes up with. Is it going to be heavy pressure? Is it going to be really sound? Is it going to be about the run fits? Last year was very much about just creating havoc, blitzing teams back to the Stone Age, and then just hoping you got home either in the backfield with the running back or obviously getting a sack. And if not, it was tough. I mean, it was tough to be out there.
You mentioned the sacks. Just as a former quarterback and as a quarterback coach, offensive coach, how difficult is it to keep on coaching a player that's under that type of duress and to keep their eyes up, I guess, to put it plainly, just so they don't get overwhelmed by all the constant pressure that they're having to face?
It can be challenging because the quarterback position is it's so much right here between the ears. And I just listened to Matt Rule's interview about Shedeur and what he said about his toughness. That's a trait that I noticed really quickly. It wasn't even the Washington State game. I think he was a walking wounded individual, and kudos to him to even putting the uniform on and showing up for that game, because he was already pretty hurt. It sounded like he had at least a spiral microfracture or something in his back. It becomes challenging. It becomes challenging because if you don't have anything else that you can rely on besides the intermediate and chunk passing game, you're going to have to work the pocket. You're going to have to take those hits. You're going to have to deliver the ball knowing that you're going to get smoked. As a quarterback, I will say that was my favorite thing to do. I loved hanging in the pocket, knowing that somebody was rearing down on you, about ready to blow you up, and then being on your back and just hearing the roar of the crowd at home, or the mute silence of being on the road.
That's awesome.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
what do you got going on, I guess, in the future? Are we going to see you on the sideline soon?
Hopefully. Sideline, but with one of these on.
With a headset?
Yeah, media headset. I just, the next couple days I'll be covering CSU and Boise State in the Mountain West side of things. I played at Boise State, coached there as well. So I've been doing a lot of stuff with the media out in Boise. And then and they have a similar setup to you guys. They're kind of independent. It's a podcast, live stream podcast.
Yeah,
so
I've seen it.
It's a lot of fun. So we're going to be covering that conference really, really closely. I'm bummed I won't be here tomorrow for all the CU activity because I have a lot of obligations over at the Mountain West side.
Well, thanks again, Coach. We'll look forward to seeing what you do in the near future. Then.
Yeah. Hey, great to be on with you guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.